We're just normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
Welcome to the RedAss Podcast, your home for Aggie sports, barbecue, music, and much more. And now your hosts, Rob White and Roy May.
Howdy, guys. Welcome back to the RedAss Podcast. Today is Tuesday, January 14th, and we're recording in the morning, and we're going to be going fairly quick today because we are both very busy.
Yeah, and this is like the only time we could get it done, which is kind of nuts because normally we don't have any time in the mornings. But yeah, man, tuning in. So we are one football game away from the season being over.
Yeah.
We have a massive basketball game tonight, although in the SEC they are all massive. And so kind of some exciting things going on. We are 31 days away from first pitch at Bluebell,
No, yeah, 1 month out.
from seeing the number one team in the country take the field. So that's exciting. Softball rankings came out. They're 7th. So lots of exciting things happen around Aggie Land in the spring.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, anytime you have two teams that get featured in the preseason top 8, that tells you that where the mindset is. They think that we are both ending up in O-Town and OKC.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you get put in those positions, I mean, there's always going to be some lofty expectations. But based on how we performed last year, the personnel returning, as well as just the general feel and excitement here in Aggieland, it's going to be a really interesting week. Well, especially it's going to be very interesting to see how all of it plays out. I'm very excited for it, no question about it.
Yeah. I mean, you're expecting, I mean, and we'll get to baseball season when we get there, but obviously, there's going to be hand wringing and people throwing their hands in the air the first time we lose a game. But that's baseball.
Immediately. Okay. Well, and the likelihood of us maintaining the number one ranking the whole season, it's not feasible, people. It doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, for the top 5 are in the SEC. You've got UVA, which is who's fantastic.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, looking forward to that. Really, I was really happy with the ranking for softball. I think with some key transfer portal additions and then some newcomers to look for, and then obviously you bring your pitcher back in Kennedy, who's just a workhorse, and that's in the softball world, having a number one is the most important thing on the planet. Like you don't even, I mean, you can get by with an okay number 2, quite frankly, because of how many pitches they can throw.
Right.
I think for baseball, I think if there's a concern, it's probably just closure.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be the main focus for sure.
Yeah, I think your number one concern is going to be who fills that spot of Aschenbeck, right?
Right.
And whether it's one guy or 2 guys, I don't know. But I don't get paid to coach. I don't get paid to make those decisions. So we'll see that roll out when it rolls out in a month. But the sport at hand right now, bouncy ball is in full swing.
Yes, bouncy balls rocking and rolling, and A&M is a couple games into conference play now. You took down Texas, and had a very good matchup with Alabama. Anybody who did watch that game will note that free throw shooting was not really very good in this matchup for us.
Yeah, it kind of reared its ugly head, which is it's unfortunate because it was a great game to watch. If you didn't have a stake in the game, it was a great game to watch. Just kind of disappointing, disappointing finish to it. Couldn't close out Alabama. I mean, don't forget, I mean, they did go on the road and beat Oklahoma as well. So they're 2-1 in conference with a showdown tonight at Rupp Arena. So like in order, they played Texas, and they played number 17 Oklahoma, number 5 Alabama. Now they're going to be on the road at number 8 Kentucky. Like it's just a bear. And so great game tonight. Kentucky obviously is that's basketball's their thing, right? They are 100% a basketball school.
Yeah.
Wade Taylor is going to be out again. So there's going to be I don't want to call them growing pains because we're far enough along in the season, but there's going to be some speed bumps and some hiccups.
Yeah.
But it's been really nice to see this team step up. Phelps, I'm waiting for Obaseki to kind of get back in his groove. I saw somebody
Yeah.
say this was about the time last year, I believe, when he kind of started like the light went on kind of thing.
Right.
So playing without Wade Taylor, who's obviously one of the best guards in the country, hey, it's detrimental, right? Everybody knows you can't sugarcoat it. But the performance we saw against Alabama, I thought was a gutty performance. Like you said, free throw shooting rearing its ugly head again at A&M, which is just wildly unfortunate. It will
Yeah.
drive me bonkers all day when you miss free throws at home, like because that's where you practice. I mean, I know they have a practice gym underneath Reed, but
Right.
missing free throws at home is brutal.
Well, and just completely inexcusable too, because it's like, man, this arena's quiet. This is your home court. You know what you're doing, and I understand a missed free throw will happen, but when you start getting the yips with it, even in little spurts like that, that's a bad deal.
that that's a really good way to put it. The yips, and
Yeah.
for those of y'all not familiar with that, that's a golf term.
Well, it's a golf term. It's a I mean, baseball. I mean, there's so many great examples of it across sport, but basically that's where you just kind of lose like the mental fortitude to be able to do a repeating action that you've been able to do time and time again, you know. So especially with a golfer, like, if you're so very consistent with your drives or you're very consistent with your putting, and all of a sudden you just don't know how to putt, you don't know how to drive.
Like the knob block.
Yeah, Chuck Knobloch is a fantastic example of that. That's an A&M baseball player who was a very famous A&M baseball player, not necessarily for how good he was, because he wasn't great second baseman,
Good
but
baseball. You're a good ball player though. Good enough
great
to be in
ball
the
player.
pros. Good enough to be at the pros for a long time
I
until he
mean,
got the yips and he
he was
couldn't
a
throw the first
Yankee.
anymore.
He was a freaking Yankee on a number one ranked baseball team in college and ended up being a Yankee. And then he just forgot how to throw the ball to first base.
I've never seen anything like that in my life at a professional level. That was so depressing.
It was, and that was unfortunate because obviously that was pre my time as far as like focusing in on A&M sports. But in retrospect, A&M baseball is to this day one of my all time favorite sports that just exists. And sport teams that exist. So the fact that one of our biggest guys we ever put out is most well known for forgetting how to play the game in a classic fashion. Oh,
It's
that's
a shame.
brutal. It
Well,
is.
so going back to it though,
Yeah.
you shoot sub 60% from the line. That
That ain't
you
it.
know, only games you're going to win doing that is against absolute scrubs, right? They were 22% from behind the arc. I mean, that's brutal. And
Yeah.
oddly enough, it seems like the games that I watch, it seems like they'll hit them early, but second half going down the stretch is when it really lights up from behind the arc for us. It
Yeah.
always seems to flip flop. Like the other team shoots really well in the first half, and then we pick it up in the second half. Actually, flip flopped on us this game. We were 27% first half, and then we went down to 14%, from behind the arc in the second half. So we couldn't
Yeah.
hit the broadside of a barn, quite frankly. And then
Right.
when you're able to get to the line 48 times and you really can't capitalize on that, I mean, it's a 6 point game and you miss 20 free throws.
Yeah.
So hopefully this is just a blip. I mean, we've seen it in the past, right? But this team is this team. This team isn't a team from the past, right? And I know there's a ton of experience. There's a lot of the same guys, but
Yeah.
uh, it's just a little concerning. But hopefully, it's just kind of you had one of those nights, right? And that'll happen in any sport, and it'll
Very true.
100% happen in basketball.
Yeah.
But big game coming up against Kentucky on the
Big.
road. The ability to to get beating Kentucky anywhere would be a statement win. They're number eight in the country. But if you can beat them on the road, you've got that good win on the road against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And the win against Texas it's still not it's not a bad win per se, between the different quadrants and how they do it. I mean, Texas, it'd be nice if they'd win a couple of conference games. Otherwise, it's going to end up being a quad 2 win or quad 3 win.
Right.
Because they're still winless in the conference.
Yeah. They're
Um,
they're at that point. I will say this, looking ahead at this A&M Kentucky game. Uh, you know, we've had a pretty good little run against Kentucky in recent years. They're
Oddly enough,
Yeah, oddly enough, it's one of those deals. Like if you look at like A&M baseball, and I always end up using them as a good example. But if you look at how we've performed against the likes of like LSU in a series in baseball, we have that one is extremely balanced. which is odd because generally LSU is considered to be a very high tier baseball program and one that frankly nobody a lot of people should be able to beat. We find ways to do that. We do the same thing with Kentucky in this situation. It's just kind of odd. People look at it and say, "Why has A&M got a fairly decent matchup here?"
Yeah, and it's funny because some of the A&M teams that have beaten Kentucky are teams that, in no offense, but really didn't have a right to beat Kentucky. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And so, like you said, like we don't have their number by any means. I mean, they've got a doubled up. You're 13-6 against us. I
Right.
mean, that's the all-time series, but it's I think 11 and 5, 11 and 5, like since we've been in the SEC.
Right.
But those 5 wins have been surprising, and we won the last two. So you're looking for a third straight win against Kentucky because we doubled them up last year. They're one of the
Yeah.
teams that we had to play twice.
Right.
Uh, I think so. Or did we play them in the tournament? I can't
I
remember.
don't. We didn't.
Um,
I don't remember.
but 2-3 against Kentucky under Buzz.
Yeah.
But we've won the last two. So be a great game. It should be another good game, and it's one of those. Like I was saying, it's not just like us against Kentucky. I found that the quality of basketball this year in the league is so high that I find myself watching other SEC games.
Sure.
I mean, it's it's
Absolutely.
it's really fun basketball. It is.
It is.
And so yeah, it's just another step in the gauntlet for Aggie basketball tonight, having to go on the road to Rupp Arena
Yeah.
um, against a top 10 team. So looking forward to it. Obviously, I'll be watching the game.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be keeping up with that game tonight. I'm looking forward to that. That's gonna be at 6 p.m. And then of course we had A&M women. They've been rock and rolling, doing their thing, and
They
uh,
got they got torched by South Carolina, but I mean, it's okay to get torched by South Carolina.
yeah,
That's
yep,
kind of how I look at it. They beat Ole Miss, go on the road to South Carolina, which in and of itself is a monumental task.
yeah,
Dawn Staley can say what she wants about her roster. The way she recruits, she's always going to have All Americans. As long
mhm,
as Dawn Staley is at South Carolina's going to be good. That's all there is to it.
right.
Uh,
And then Oklahoma.
yeah, well, back-to-back road games is brutal. Oklahoma, another top 10 team. The women's side is just as brutal as the men's side.
It is.
But dropped a pretty tough one.
Yeah,
And so they don't play again until Thursday. Um,
yeah. Against and there'll be a home game.
it'll be home with Georgia. Hopefully a chance uh to get right and get back on the right track. Um, it's tough. I know mentally it's tough to get you get blasted at South Carolina, and then you lose pretty handily at Oklahoma. So now this is kind of one of those parts of the season where Joni's got to get their heads right. You lost
Yeah,
was 41, 15, 40, 56. So you lost the last two games by a combined 56 points. All right.
it's a lot.
So that's a lot. So she's got to get them. I think some of it's going to be mental, quite frankly. Like they've got to get their heads right. They're back home. They've got a Georgia team that's not ranked,
Yeah,
right? So this is a get right game in the middle of conference play because you drop this one, then you've got Kentucky at home. You have to go on the road to number 5 LSU.
hmm
Then you got another back-to-back road games. You'll have to go to Arkansas. Then you come home and play Texas.
yeah,
And so there's no letting up on this schedule. So it's not a do or die this early in the season, but man, this is a big one.
yeah.
Um,
It's definitely going to be worth resetting your head because after that, yeah. I mean, the schedule does not get any lighter. You just need to keep on.
yeah, it's a gauntlet, man. And the women's side, in basketball in the SEC has been this way for a lot longer than the men's.
It's
The
true.
men's has been very top heavy, almost kind of like football.
Yeah,
You had your Kentuckies, Alabama's. Nate Oates has put a great program together at Alabama.
yeah,
Arkansas is always going to play hard, right?
yeah.
Now they've got Cal, so um,
Hmm.
but then you just kind of have some meddling teams, right?
Right.
But now this year's a little bit different in the SEC for the men. So
Yeah.
I think it will probably play out that we'll end up being the best conference relative to how many bids we get. Now, how we do as far as once the tournament starts, of all the postseason tournaments, basketball is the most democratic to me because like it's all neutral site. I mean,
Mhm.
some not quite as neutral as others, but if you get hot, man.
Yeah.
And so you got to love March Madness. I mean, even if you're not a huge basketball fan. Even when I didn't watch college basketball as much, once the tournament started, man, I was locked in.
Oh yeah. Oh, and I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
there's so many great storylines that happen around that time of year, and right, they talk about Cinderella stories and various teams and what they're able to accomplish, and sideshow characters that end up popping up from every school that end up getting featured on social media. There's always so many little things going on around
yeah,
March Madness, and that's why they call it that.
yeah,
It's
and there's
just
always an upset, and we're
yeah,
still far ways away from that. Considering back a little bit where we are right now with Wade Taylor being out again,
yeah, brutal.
I know we need Wade Taylor to be our best, obviously,
Yeah.
but a groin injury, like you have got to let it heal because otherwise it'll just nag and nag and nag. And when he played a couple games ago, you could see he wasn't at 100%.
Mm.
And so, as much as I hate seeing him on the sidelines, like he's got to get well. And I will say, I was wildly impressed. His stature, demeanor, whatever you want to call it,
Mm.
while on the sidelines. And I get it, right? He's a lunch pill, all the cliches, but he really is like another coach. And he's
Mm.
like hyping up his teammates. He's behind his team. He's helping. He's calling stuff out. So
Yeah.
he's engaged, and I don't
Well,
think we expected anything different from him.
no.
That's just his character. He embraces the leadership role on this team.
Mm.
Um, so I'd like to see him back in uniform, but I
Same.
would like him to be healthy. Like this is not an injury you rush back.
No, and it's certainly going to be interesting to see how long that takes, but I hope he's taking his time. I hope he's in high spirits. Certainly seems to be. And we're very excited to see the team continue to roll on and fight for that opportunity to make it to the tournament. Looking forward to that. A quick pivot. Did want to highlight the playoff games from this past week.
Yeah,
Talking, talking college football. First and foremost, fantastic game between Notre Dame and Penn State. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Um,
yeah, really good game.
yeah.
I'll be honest. I was shocked that Penn State kept it close.
Hmm.
I thought Notre Dame was kind of walk away with it. So, but yeah, wildly entertaining game to watch. And James Franklin just does what James Franklin does.
Oh
He
yeah.
just never wins the big one. And until he does, that's going to be the perception of him, quite frankly.
Uh,
It's a good Penn State team. Uh, it seems like I saw, I think there was like a meme or something going around. It's like Penn State has had the same quarterback for like the last 12 years, basically. So,
basically, yeah.
like it's just they roll out the same kind of dude under center every single year. Um,
Hey,
but,
yeah,
but
can't blame him for consistency.
I will give him that. But Penn State, they surprised me. Like I said, I thought Notre Dame was going to walk him a little bit. So, but Riley Leonard's so good.
Mhm.
They're Love, and they've got that other running back. They're tough dudes, man. And that defense is fun to watch. And so obviously Notre Dame made through, and then Ohio State and the Sips played. Um, this
Mm.
game was wild
Yeah.
for a ton of reasons, not the least of which is one of the best offensive play callers in the nation completely folding.
I
Like,
mean,
like just it, I mean, it borderline looks like he took a bribe. Like that's how bad the play calls were. I mean, I know he didn't. I'm not saying that, but for him to pull that in that situation is insane. Like it's complete Captain Insane.
you're first and goal from the 1 yard line with one of the best play callers in the game at the offensive position, and you couldn't put it in the end zone. Not only do you not put it in the end zone, I was discussing this with a couple of friends of mine, right? About how could Texas possibly make this the most painful way to lose a football game, right? That was where my brain was at. And I was thinking, like, is it more fun to see them just get absolutely smashed? Or would it be better for this to turn out to be some kind of big rip your heart out moment because you thought you had a chance? And that's exactly what happened. You're at the 1 yard line down 7 points with, very little time remaining on the clock. And you're out here basically just moving this ball down the field against this defense that you struggled against. You get all the way down to the 1 yard line. You try to go straight up the middle, doesn't happen. Then you try to pitch out on second and goal, and they read that thing like a freaking book. All of a sudden, you're back at
Well,
the 8.
Well, and we've complained about this before with A&M play calling, right? It's
Yeah.
fourth and one, and you're in shotgun, right?
Oh my
Or
God! Don't even get me started.
in the side pitch. So basically, they had the ball at the one, but they really started that play at the nine.
Hmm.
And I just, that allowed Ohio State, they can use the boundary. And I understand like they weren't necessarily running between the tackles all that effectively because Ohio State defense is legitimate. I thought Ohio State, after
Hmm.
the game before the Texas game, Ohio State, I was watching that game going, I don't think there's anybody better in the country right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like saying that. I don't like Ohio State, but it's the
No.
truth.
Yes.
And so he had so many options, and that's what he chose.
Hmm.
Like that's what just completely blows my mind. Is I mean, he had Arch Manning. He could have rolled the pocket out. There's just a million different things he could have done. He's got
Yeah.
one of the best tight ends in the country. Just let the dude post up, throw him jump ball. You
Right.
know. So and then to see what was it, Sawyer? Is that his name?
Yeah.
The Ohio State player who apparently he and Quinn Ewers were roommates when he was at Ohio State.
Hmm.
Sack and the ball just bounces perfectly into his arms.
And
Uh,
then,
and then all the crowd shots. Sark literally laying face down on the turf.
I mean, like I said, if you were going for maximum pain,
That's it.
that's pretty darn close. Because I mean, think about this: it's 21-14, and all of a sudden it is now 28-14 when you thought it was about to be 21 all, with the chance to at least tie the game.
And who was that receiver? I don't know if it was Bond or not. He wide open across the middle and he jumps to catch the ball for no reason.
Hmm.
Like I remember that from I think middle school. Like don't jump if you don't have to.
Right, it's so unnecessary. I mean, you're going for the dramatic, the dramatic play. That's fine. I don't, I respect that, but come on, man.
I just tell you what, you'd respect him catching the football more.
Yeah,
So yeah, so you got Ohio State, Notre Dame. I have not
yes,
looked at the lines, but if I were a bet man, Ohio State is favored.
I would assume. Let me
Yeah.
triple check that since I've got it pulled up here. Come on.
This is going to be an interesting one though, because
Ooh, Ohio State by 8 currently.
that's a monster number for
That's
a
a
national championship game.
pretty healthy line on that one right now.
Well, that's too big to me because as well as Ohio State's playing,
Yeah.
Notre Dame's defense is, they're not the B team.
Well, and honestly, as much fun as I have poking at Notre Dame, and as much as I don't like Ohio State, it's like asking the question, who would I pull for in this game? And I think in this particular situation, I pull for Notre Dame, and here's why. Very simple deal. One, they're the underdog, obviously. But number two, and honestly, this was the first team we played this season. We were their first stop
Yeah.
on their road to glory, truly. And we took them down to the wire in that game. And this is just further justified verification because everybody gave us so much crap that first week. And it's
Yeah.
like, that was the national champion, people. Granted, did they lose to North, and not to mention Northern Illinois winning a national championship by
Default.
sensitive property. I mean, come
Yeah.
on.
Um, yeah, these are two blue bloods that quite frankly I don't like. And so
Accurate.
it's kind of a coin flip. For me, I'd probably rather see Notre Dame win. One, like you said, I always, it's the underdog thing, right?
Yeah.
I really like Riley Leonard. I really like Freeman, their coach.
Oh, yeah. Big
Hey,
fan.
Notre Dame better lock him up because even if they don't end up winning, he is a hot commodity.
Well,
Um, yeah, so I really like the coach at Notre Dame. Um, and yeah, I can't root for Ohio State. I just can't do it, man. So
no.
if if
Understandable.
if this is going to play out for Notre Dame to win, it's going to be because of their defense. Their defense keeps them in the game all the way to the end of the fourth quarter. And Riley Leonard and was it Jeremiah Love, I believe is his name.
Mm.
Love, the running back. They're just gonna have to make some plays. Like when it all comes down in the wash, if their defense can keep Ohio State's offense in check, like that's how Notre Dame has a chance because Notre Dame isn't going to win a boat race, right?
But if it's down in the trenches, they got a good
And
chance.
Riley Leonard with his feet, maybe probably a little bit more than he needs to be, quite
Yeah.
frankly. But so that's kind of how I look at it. If Notre Dame's going to win, if Ohio State's going to win, I think you just shut down Riley Leonard.
Yeah.
Um, you can let them run for 200 on the ground, quite frankly, and as long as those are like designed running plays and not him getting loose and moving the sticks. So
Yeah.
that would be my guess. If Notre Dame, if Ohio State wins, that all I got to do is contain Riley Leonard. Like that's kind of how I look at it. Um, but yeah, I'll root for Notre Dame though. I guess I don't know. Maybe I just won't root for anybody. I'll just watch.
Yeah. Just enjoy the game. It's fine.
This is the last one of the year.
It's like, yeah, no vested interest. I'm not betting any money on this stuff.
No.
It's that was the one thing. I know plenty of guys had been running around doing a parlay and this, that. And I'm just like, I just have no desire to get into all that.
Well, this is one of those games where because of who they are, like this is still technically me betting with my heart.
Right.
And I don't bet with my heart. If
Yeah.
I gamble, it's generally very you know,
Magical.
yeah, from the outside looking very, very objective about it.
Mm.
Even when I
All
can't be.
right. Okay, and we are going to go ahead and keep on rocking and rolling. I had some questions.
Yeah,
Several,
there you go.
several questions. I was actually very enjoyed that. So Garrett Smith, he asks, should the Dallas Cowboys hire Steve Sarkisian? Should they do that? It's not even just a question of is it Jerry Jones going to go get him? I mean, should they go get him? That's the question.
Well, I don't think there's an Aggie on the planet who would mind seeing Sark leave Texas.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy's a good coach, man, like it or not, and he recruits well. I mean, they're stacking classes. So it'd be a thorn out of our side if he
no,
went to
yeah.
the Cowboys. Um, do I think the Cowboys should hire him? I don't know about that.
Hmm.
But again, first of all, I have no idea what Jerry Jones is thinking ever. Um, obviously he's in, developed talks with Deion Sanders.
Yeah, and that was going to be my follow-up question, which was between the two of them, who would you want hired as a Cowboys fan? Who would you want?
I mean, neither, but but
If you had no other
yeah, if
choices.
I had no other choices, probably Sarkisian just because he has NFL experience. Deion's
Right.
NFL experience is on the field, right?
Correct.
And I think and what we've seen from Dan Campbell, right? And
Oh
that
yeah.
gruff motivation, kind of young up and comer to an extent. He's worked his way through the ranks.
Hmm.
Um, I just think it's such a different dynamic. Even if you play in the NFL, I think it's just such a different dynamic in the locker rooms and at practice from what he's doing at Colorado
Hmm.
and from what he remembers back in the heyday of the Cowboys. Like this ain't the same Cowboys either.
Absolutely
You know?
not.
And so just from an experience standpoint, I would probably want Sark just because he's been in the NFL. He's all plays in the NFL.
Right.
So yeah, if those are my only two choices, it'd be Sark. If I had my magical gift like wish list,
Hmm.
it would be Dan Campbell, obviously.
I gotcha.
Or Aaron Glenn.
Yeah. Aaron
Yeah, I
Glenn.
don't know why they haven't interviewed Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I feel
But
like
again, that's in the mind of Jerry Jones. I got nothing.
okay. Number second round of questions. Like I said, I feel like we get stacked with these sometimes, and I don't mind that because it gives us a lot to talk about. But
Yeah.
Jive Coach G had a couple coming up. He went ahead and fired one in the day before we recorded. Like sent me a DM, was just like, "Hey, I'm just gonna send these in now." I said, "Okay,
Nice.
cool." I said, "I appreciate it." They said, "Hey, Rob, when is Davy Crockett coming out of retirement? Saturday looks as good of a time as ever with the first U.S. match of the year coming up. Also, have you been to a U.S. match with the American Outlaws? Secondly, Roy." Any good bull stories from your time in Delta Company pre-Yellboy era?
Oh gosh. Um, Delta Company is such a different dynamic because really nobody's on campus. So generally, you really only see each other at formations.
Mm.
And when I was there, we weren't even doing PT. Um,
Mm.
but when I was there, so they started. I think it was my fish years when it started, maybe the year before I got there. They started a mentor program where each outfit could pick one of us to help mentor like during training and stuff.
Mm.
And Gator 2 was in the same building. So like they came up and down the stairs because we had basically a locker room
Yeah.
for us to change it, like an off post room. And so the commander of Gator 2 actually requested me and we got to become Ross Tollison got to become real good friends. He went on to be in the Army, um, and so that was just a really neat kind of situation because especially as a fish, I could go and um, uh, I could help mentor junior and senior cadets that are looking to go into the Army, right, from a
Yeah.
professional standpoint, from experience. But then I could also go to my fellow classmates, even though there's an age difference, and be like, "Look, man, it's this too shall pass, brother. Like
Right.
it's going to be okay." We didn't do a whole lot of crazy stuff.
Right.
I did so when had to do military science lab.
Hmm.
It, it came to pass that they figured out that I didn't really need to prove that I could low crawl. And they were short some seniors to because the seniors teach, right? They teach the labs
Yeah.
as part of their military development. And well, the contract seniors, right?
Hmm.
And so they rotated me into a instructor position basically for my lab. So I would go and actually pitch classes because it's just Army stuff, and it's like Army 101 kind of stuff, right?
Right.
And I will say there was one time I was doing life-saving procedures, like first aid, basically. And
Sure.
there's an acronym, I won't say it on here, but there's an acronym that apparently has been retired in the Army. I was not informed. But if you want to hit me up on DM, I will tell you what it is. Because there's 8 steps to life-saving procedures when you come across casualty. Um, but I won't say it on here.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I said it and like I had jaws just drop and I realized it came out of my mouth and I was like, oh yeah,
Right.
I'm not in the Army anymore.
Yeah. Yo, y'all are just the filthy casuals. It's fine.
Like, yeah, I
You,
apologize for my language. If I offended anyone, it's usually like having
my bad.
they all thought it was pretty hilarious though. I think
That,
they were just a little shocked.
like, oh, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. That's a thing.
Whoops.
Oops, that's funny.
Yeah, what about you and the Outlaws?
Okay, so as far as outlaw stuff, so when is Davy Crockett coming out of retirement? The likelihood of me dressing up again to that extent is probably very low, especially considering the last time this happened, I ended up on international television and it was largely ridiculed on Twitter. Okay. I mean, it ain't happening again. As much fun as it would be, I'm good, man. I think I'm okay.
So you have retired it.
Davy Crockett has officially retired. That doesn't stop me from going out to some, Outlaws events, but I'm not wearing that again. And the funny thing was, the first time we did it around, it was actually kind of funny. So I have been to a handful of games. In fact, my very first match ever, I went with a buddy up to Washington, D.C. in 2013. That was my first U.S. match ever. They were playing against Germany in D.C. over at RFK Stadium.
Heck yeah.
And let me tell you, that was an absolute blast of a match. It was basically Germany's B team against our starters, but we win the match 4-3, and it was super hype. I mean, we got to see Clint Dempsey out here putting in a brace of goals. I mean, we got a goal happen right in front of our face. I mean, we're out here
Dude,
dancing, drinking. There's Jack Daniels been poured into stadium cups. We're just out here just losing our minds.
7 goals in a match is a blast.
It was so fun, and it was a friendly. It's like there's
Yeah.
no stakes here. It's just an exhibition, and it was a blast. It was so fun. Well, and then I had to turn around, fly back here that same day because I had summer one starting at 8 a.m. the next day. It was on a Sunday.
Whoa.
And I
Son,
was hung over.
that's hilarious.
I will tell you that much. And the funny thing is, I rolled into that class got canceled. So I went straight back to sleep. I drove back to the house and just went, was
As
out of the
would
way.
I.
Yeah, so that was my very first match, and then outside of that, I've been to a few others. So I went and saw the U.S. play Mexico and San Antonio. That was amazing. That was probably one of my favorite matches ever because that was my first Dos Acero ever. And for those of you unaware, there's a running gag with the U.S. men's national team playing against Mexico and beating them by a score of 2-0. It's like several of our big matchups over our history has included us beating them by that score line.
Yeah.
So the fact that we were able to pull off a Dos Acero in San Antonio filled my heart with joy. Went
Yeah, I
to
still, I still need to get to a match.
Oh, they're so fun. And then we saw then play Argentina in Houston. That was the one where I got featured on television, and yeah, we got to see.
That costume, which will no longer be named.
Yeah, we saw Lionel Messi score right in front of my face. That was really cool
That's cool.
on a set piece. I mean, it was funny because we're doing like we're trying to sing songs and do all that fun stuff, and then all of a sudden, right before he's about to shoot, all songs stop. Every camera was out
Yep,
because they were like, "We are going to film Messi scoring in front of our face." All
that's
right,
pretty fun.
okay. Couple
Well,
more.
I will
Yeah,
say if that was Jive Coach G, you guys
yeah,
got a match to get today. This is
yes,
Liverpool, so it's Liverpool at
yes.
Forest at the city grounds.
Yes, Liverpool at Forest and Liverpool coming off of a win, but woo, FA Cup, no, not a big deal. You got to reset your brain and get right for this Premier League matchup because this one's important. Liverpool does not pull off the win here, and all of a sudden, it's looking a little bit more open.
Yeah, stinking
So
Arsenal. But I mean, at the same
yeah,
time, City's in third, man, or Forest, excuse me.
yeah, Forest's in third right now, ahead of Chelsea by about 4 points. So all of a sudden, you're sitting at a pretty healthy position. We're at odds today, and I can see this match going a couple of different ways. Either way, we'll see what ends up
Yeah,
panning out,
we've got Fulham today
and that'll
with
be
our new manager.
right. Yeah, brand new manager, which leads into um well, Jonna was asking about what are your thoughts were going to be on new manager coming in, and
Oh,
then
about West Ham?
yeah, so she asked three things. She said, "Can we have a barbecue day, please?"
Pass.
Taz, thoughts on the West Ham hire, and when are we getting the new album? That one's for me, but.
So barbecue, yeah, it just when it warms up a little bit. I don't like
Yeah.
standing outside in the cold. Yeah.
Fair.
Uh, as far as the hire, I'm excited about it.
Mm,
I was hesitantly excited about Lopetegi. Turns out he was just kind of a flop. Players didn't like playing for him.
mm,
So they go out and get Graham Potter, who I'm a big fan of. And he's basically in the club for one day before we have an FA Cup match, right? So
mm.
nothing can be done.
Right.
But what's funny is there was a noticeable difference on the pitch for West Ham.
Yeah.
Like just happy to be playing for him, maybe just happy to be freed up a little bit.
Right.
Game, match didn't go the way I hoped it would. There's kind of a couple of really bad calls resulted in some really bad results. But
Sure.
it's like anything else. I'm excited to, everything new is nice and shiny and exciting. So
Hmm.
until we start tanking, I'll like Graham Potter. And then, with our awful management, and, I'm sure we're going to donk the transfer window.
Mm.
So just stay above water, finish middle of the table and get out of this season.
Yeah. Well, like I said, just gotta power through it, right? That's all you can do.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. And then and then when are we getting the new album? So we're playing around with a couple of different dates. We're looking at March, late March, upwards, or potentially April. We were trying to line up the album release with our show at the Tap, which we were initially told was going to be on the 28th. It's now been moved to April 25th. So excited for that show, by the way. Looking forward to getting back into town to play at the Tap. But I'm not sure if the album release has been moved along with the show date or if we're still planning on the end of March and then just use that as an opportunity to springboard forward. I would prefer to release the music a little earlier, but that's just my own personal preference. It's not necessarily the most strategic play.
Yeah.
But we are looking to, we'll do that show in April, and then we'll turn around and actually play back here in town in June. But that will be for the 4-H roundup, so should be a lot of fun there.
Right
Um,
on.
and then one last little deal from San Antonio Dave, our buddy. He said, "Is it possible for Buzz to have practice where they could just shoot free throws until they puke? An excusable loss on Saturday. What's been the let's say, but that's been part of the course for our team since Buzz took over. We can't be losing games at home. I don't care who we play. Beat the hell out of Kentucky."
Yeah, you want to protect your home court, but again, some of this goes back to the fact that we do have to understand that it's a juggernaut of of a league this year.
In particular this year, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you would have loved to win at home. You know, you had the place sold out, damn near 13,000 people in the house.
Right.
But again, yeah, that's what I'll be looking at moving forward is was this a blip or were we just shooting a little bit better earlier in the season than what we are?
Right.
From the stripe, obviously.
Mm.
From the arc can get streaky, but from the stripe can get dangerous if you start getting in your own head. So
Right.
yeah, no, I hear you on the free throws, man. It just you want to bang your head against the wall. I
Yeah,
get it,
we all
man.
do.
But it's just unfortunately it has been I don't want to call it staple, but it has been a recurring theme from time to time with Buzz Williams teams, squads, which makes it even more frustrating considering how many times they get to the stripe.
Right.
Because that's also another staple of his
Yeah.
teams. Is that it's so many opportunities, almost 50 free throws, man.
Yeah, it's like, and you force enough of that. Like, I mean, come on, that's 50 points. That's so many points.
Yeah.
You know, and when you're what, missing 20 of them, like, come
Yeah.
on.
You lost by 6 and you missed 20 some odd free throws. So
You can't do that, man.
definitely can't do it on the road. So keep an eye on that tonight at Rupp.
Yes, and we will be watching along with that one. What else you got going on this week before we wrap up here?
It's just work, man. It's starting to get busy again. I mean, this is a perfect example. We got to cut this short because I got to get moving. I got a handful of property walks going on this week with some
Yeah.
developers. Some new stuff might be coming to town.
Okay.
Some new kind of like starter home stuff. So, if we can get these deals across the line, then I'll start letting people know about affordable housing.
Yeah.
Seems to
Um,
be an oxymoron these days.
I feel that. I did want to make one quick shout out. For those who were not keeping up with all the craziness last week, and I'm surprised I didn't talk about it before now. Um, City Council shut down the
Yes,
Northgate parking lot proposal, which is huge,
that was great news.
massive. Oh, oh, huge news. Basically, the city wanted to build a 23-story high-rise building right there on the parking lot space, and essentially that would be the final nail in the coffin before Northgate was just
Yeah,
wiped.
there's plenty of other places for them to do it. Figure it out.
Figure it out, because I mean, you're already throwing them up left and right. And I love that people have been posting about all the different restaurants and bars that used to exist around the area, like Cafe Excel, which is a fantastic restaurant. I remember going there when I was in college. It was so good. I miss that place. And not to mention, I mean, you've seen just the encroachment of all these apartments coming in and I mean, look, multi-story super high rises. If you haven't been in town recently, the whole region around Northgate looks completely insane. It looks like a
Bonkers.
downtown. It looks like a downtown area,
Yeah.
but like none of these are corporate buildings. This is all just student housing. It's
Yeah.
insane. But I'm glad to see they shut down the proposal. I'm very disappointed that it even had 2 votes for. Like, I don't know who they are, but we're gonna find
Oh, I
out.
saw I saw online. Yeah, you can find the names. It's a public vote.
Oh, good. All right. Well,
Yeah, I can't remember the names. I saw that somebody had brought the names up, but yeah, you can find out who voted for it.
yeah.
And next elections, can them.
That is the beauty of public votes. God, we love that.
Yeah, I mean, you want to have real effect in like your own immediate world, be involved with local politics.
Oh, absolutely.
Voting for your
This is
senator
where it all
doesn't.
starts.
Yeah, voting for your senator doesn't change Northgate.
No, no.
I'm not saying don't do that.
No.
We're not getting political, but I'm saying like,
Right.
it's important, especially in smaller towns like this. We have a small city
Right.
council. Everybody knows everybody in this town, right?
Right.
So
It all starts at the local level. If you have issues with how things are operating in your personal life, start at the local level. Because I
yes,
guarantee you 99% of the time it can be solved there. That's the reason why the appeals courts and everything like goes from there and shoots up. You've got to take care of it at the local level first.
yeah, I'm willing to bet like that petition had a lot of sway on it, quite frankly. I
Oh, it
signed.
had to have. And you're talking over 15,000 people. And for people who don't sign petitions, and I normally don't sign petitions, but this was one that I was particularly involved with.
Yeah,
Like I said, Northgate is a big part of the culture of this town, whether you like it or not. Just
pretty
a
much.
fact of life. Anyway, but exciting for that. had ourselves a great weekend. Getting to do the wedding and the private event up there at the Omni in Dallas. Those were fun. Honestly, really, the roads weren't horrible by any means when we were up there. So that was nice. But we powered through. It's a good weekend. We're off for a couple of weeks before we roll out to Cheatham Street and Blue Light. So we'll be going to San Marcos and we're heading up to Lubbock, and we're doing so in a bus. So I am looking forward to that weekend. Should be a lot of fun. But yeah, we'll have more information on the shows coming up that we're playing local, as well as the album release. I will fill y'all in on that. I promise I will. But anyhow, folks, be sure to check us out on social medias. Be sure to, if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to like and leave a comment. We appreciate that. And it just lets us know that we're trying to do something right. And your feedback is very important for us. And if you think that this is something you want to share with your friends, do it. If you don't want to share it with your friends, give it to somebody you don't like. I don't care. It's all great. We appreciate y'all listening in, and be sure to follow Roy May 15, Roy May Jr. That's on X and Instagram. Be sure to follow Rob the Slapper. That's both on Twitter and X as well as Instagram. Thank you guys for following along. My name is Rob White. This is Roy May. We are the RedAss Podcast. Take care. Beat the hell out of Kentucky. Beat the hell out of the cold. And take care. Have a wonderful day, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.